Let's talk about this. You opened up to People last month after hearing an interview that Mario Lopez gave on Candace Owens' show, where he suggested that parents should wait until a child's formative years before making sort of declarations about their gender. What was it about that interview that prompted you to want to really speak out?
That whole sentence is making me go like this. First of all, he's not a parent of a trans child, or may not know yet. So it's absolutely wrong. Trans children, they know their identity. It's not about sexuality, and that is the most important thing. Because people are like, well, how do they know? It's an identity change, not a sexuality. So that's the one clarification I want to make, and you have to be open with your children.
Sure. What was your son Jesse's response to hearing some of the comments?
Oh, he was so cute. He actually said, so that's really why I started talking about it, is because he got really upset that he didn't understand, because he was like, ew, you know, I don't like anybody yet. So basically, he said, say something, Mom, and I said, fine. And Jesse said, what was he said? He needs to go back to 5th grade, because that's where you learn it, which is true these days. At least in school these days, you're learning about different types of identities and what children want to be, and you should cultivate it.
Yeah, now Mario Lopez has since apologized in a statement to People, calling his comments ignorant, insensitive. He hasn't said anything to you, though, or reached out to you, correct?
No, and that's fine. I mean, I'm actually glad he said it, because there's obviously other people in the world that don't realize these things, and it's basic. It's basic. Children that are trans need to open up early on. Do you know, between 11 and 18, the female to male trans, 50% have attempted suicide. 50% at such a young age. It's because parents need to be open, and that's really the only thing I want to bring out here. Be open and listen to your children. They know.
From your perspective, what would you say is the biggest misconception people have, maybe particularly parents might have, when it comes to gender identity and this issue, from the experience you've had?
Right, well, so this is the whole thing. Gender identity does not mean anything to do with sexuality. So they say, at that age, how do they know? They know at that age. They know that, you know what, maybe I'm not supposed to be a girl. I'm supposed to be a boy. And just to flourish that, we're probably going to save one child's life just now by talking like this to a mother. That they say, well, maybe I should just be open about it. And it's super important.
Yeah, let's talk about your family's journey. At what age did you notice that Jesse was starting to identify as male?
You notice very young. It's very young. And the other parents I've spoke to, I mean, we're talking at 2, even the movements that they make. At 3, 3.5, I was 100% sure.
Yeah, I think that particular piece, and for me as a parent, I've talked to other parents about this, and first of all, I think it's a learning curve for a lot of people, right? It's new territory for many people.
For many people.
That haven't heard, and you speaking to this subject is something that is enlightening more people as we talk.
Right.
But as a parent, I've thought, man, and speaking to others, what would it take for me to know that one of my little girls was going through this type of journey? It's hard for me to think of what that would be, where I wouldn't just be like, oh, it's a phase or something. And I don't want to sound ignorant by saying that.
No,
I'm just saying, as a parent, that's my first thought is like, oh, they've got a phase or something.
Right. So it's very interesting, and I understand that. But if you speak to every parent who's gone through this at a young age, there's a very poignant moment when a child explicitly, obviously my child said it differently than others, this is not right. There's something wrong. And for a child, you know, they're like little angels. To come out with it at a young age, that's when they're going to realize something's off, and I could tell my mother. So let me just tell you something. There is an absolute poignant moment where it's black and white to the parent. And each child's different, so that's how they'll come out with it. But it's not like, oops, did I make a mistake?
And you've seen that through parents you've met, that poignant moment is the consistent factor with every story.
Yes. Yes.
How has life changed for your twins now that you've come out and spoken about this publicly?
You know what? It's for the twins, it's the same. We're the same. I mean, that's how we've always lived since they were little. I've always let him dress the way he wants, do what he wants. So a lot of the kids know, some don't, but nothing's really changed. I just thought he may want to speak about it a little bit, and he said, no, you could do it.
Yeah, and how did Zoe react to all this? Is she more protective in ways?
You know, it's just so normal in my household that she's, you know, we'll joke around and be like, Jesse gets more attention because he's trans. So we play with it just like an everyday type of thing, but she's fine. She looks at him as a brother.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
it's a
once you
sibling
start-
relationship.
Right. I mean, once you start, they're 9 now, so it's for 6 years they've been doing this.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing your story with us.
thank
I mean,
you for having me.
it truly is something that it enlightens more people the more you talk about it and sheds light into an area that I think a lot of people kind of scratch their heads and they just aren't sure about yet and don't know and don't
Yeah,
understand.
It has nothing to do with the mother forcing it on.
No, well, right, no, and no one, I would never presume.
No,
that,
I
for
know.